Hey everybody, welcome back. So this morning I came across an interesting article that hit my inbox. It was talking about the 1031 exchange. So it looks like the administration has this tax, what do you sell it? It's like a tax deferment strategy as one of the pieces in the tax code that essentially lets you sell real estate and exchange it for a more expensive piece of property. And in doing so, the benefit is that you can defer the taxes on that currently. Now, today, to use that, there is no actual limit on the amount of equity you can exchange. So if you have a property you bought for 500,000, the thing shoots up to 1.5 million and you sell it, as long as you buy a property that is worth 1.5 plus, anything over 1.5 million, you can sell it and exchange it for the new property and not pay anything on that extra difference. So in this case, you'd have about an equity position of about $1 million in profit. You wouldn't pay anything on that. Now, what I wanted to take a look at is kind of the details of this. So we're talking about changing, and we know that the administration, and wherever you fall on the spectrum, right, left, it doesn't really matter for the purposes of this conversation. It's where do we think they are going with this? We know there's a big push to create more equity or equality, across the different parts of our society. And so there is this kind of like, let's make sure that we're letting people have their fair share and that we're getting people to pay taxes and all this. And so let's kind of read a little bit of what they're saying here. Some of the key points, obviously, it would limit the types of properties and it would limit the values that investors can use and could have adverse impacts on the overall US economy. I think there is some truth to that for sure. I don't think people appreciate, well, you are deferring taxes. There is quite a bit of tax revenue, and revenue itself is just generated in doing so. You have title companies, you have mortgage brokers, real estate agents. All these folks are part of the food chain that gets fed when you initiate a transaction or an engagement like this. So that would probably limit it if you're going to make the box a little smaller for people to take advantage of this. The other piece here, it says if proposal is approved, savvy, wealthy investors would likely just hold on to properties in response, expecting that the tax code will change once again. Here's the thing with rich people, right? Or with the wealthy. They have the most power in a scenario like this. And so here's the issue. If you say, look, we're going to tax you if you guys sell your assets, well, guess what they probably won't do? They probably won't sell the asset. Why that could be problematic, in addition to the jobs that would be created from not doing that, you could say, hey, well, Arthur, that's not as meaningful as the taxes we could accrue from the sale. Okay, I'll let you have that. But you can't deny the real fact that if people don't sell their assets, that does create a little bit of challenge around inventory, right? Because we want people to sell assets so that people can come in to the market and actually start to become owners again, or at least that's the idea behind the American dream. If investors are purchasing these properties and they're not doing it, that just locks it up a bit. I always kind of think in context of the single family home because I'm a fairly small time investor here, but you do have much larger institutional investors and corporations that are holding companies that sell apartment buildings, and they leverage this tax code, and it creates a ton of revenue in that sense. And so that is interesting that those jobs and those people won't be created. And what will end up happening is that people will do what I did, right? Is you just, okay, well, you'll just take equity out of your property and refinance it, and you can sit on that house for as long as you can. I mean, or the property or whatever type of unit you have, you can just say, look, instead of selling the $1.5 million asset, I'm just going to pull out 100,000 and refinance it. And I don't have to sell it. I can just hold it. And so it almost becomes some sort of like a bond that you could liquidate over time versus an actual revenue generating asset or something of that nature. So it does create some interesting ideas here. Let's look at some of the other details that I thought were interesting. One of them was that okay, here we go. The proposal would allow the deferral of gains up to an aggregate of 500,000 per taxpayer, okay, and up to $1 million for married individuals. So any gains from like kinds of changes in excess of 500,000 would be recognized by the taxpayer in the year the taxpayer pays their property taxes, essentially. So, or pays your your annual taxes. So what they're saying is essentially, if you sell a property and you're married and you have over $1 million, in gains, in that you would have to pay taxes if it went over that. If you have under that, then you're fine, which I think most people actually do fit into this category, but it does definitely penalize larger investors. Is this right? Is this wrong? I don't know. I actually don't know. And I don't really care. I think it really just, where do we think the puck's going to go? My opinion on this probably lets a lot of people through the door. Mom and pop investors largely not going to be impacted on this. Even if you have an apartment building, you probably wouldn't be too impacted if it was a smaller building. So this is an interesting thing. I'm very curious to see where this is all going to go. My hunch is that most folks are going to just do a refinance and cash out. So I'll be curious to see how this all plays out, or if this could even get pushed through. The funny thing about politics is that you find out once these types of bills go through, there's a lot of money and lobbyists and also people who are in Congress and the Senate who actually hold quite a bit of real estate. And so it would be curious to see how this actually all plays out. But anyway, I thought this was interesting. I didn't know this was on the docket until I saw it this morning. So this is something we will continue to see. Could be an easy win for the Biden administration to come in and say, hey, look, we're going to, stick it to the bigger wealthy investors and let mom and pop still play. Not a bad way to go. In fact, I kind of think from a strategic standpoint, if they want to keep power and control, this is a good way to do it. Might piss some people off at the top end, but a lot of people on Main Street wouldn't really care because most people don't even know what a 1031 is. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you real soon.